Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Today we're here with Trevor. Trevor is a great friend of mine and runs a very impressive fish farm. And today Trevor's done something you've never done before, and you've let us in to have a look.
What let you in is what I haven't done before.
No, we've been here before, but fish breeding, it's a very underground sort of thing, and we're going to get a real private look today at your farm and some of the industry secrets and how to breed certain things. It's very impressive. We had a really quick look around, and I'm just super excited to go around and pick your brains, because when we first set up my fish room, I remember I was picking your brains for so much information. And I wish we had some of that on camera.
Well, that is kind of why I like doing this as well, hey, because to me there's just so many people who would be starting and wouldn't really know where to begin, or would like to see what somebody's done, maybe a couple of the tricks that they've learned along the way. So I kind of think that would be pretty useful to get that out there.
Exactly, and even if you don't have the desire to breed this many fish, there is so many cool things to look at. Stay tuned, grab a drink, grab a snack. There's going to be a very long video, but there's going to be so many cool things to look at. So,
damn, where's my drinks and snacks? Did you bring some?
Oh, we brought donuts. So.
Oh yeah.
All right.
Okay, cool.
Let's get into it. Where do we start? Yeah. Do you want to start maybe on that side?
Okay. Yep. Let's do that. These are Lulupis. I guess a lot of people have seen Lulupis. They are relatively easy to breed. I do Lulupis and Gelidochromis, and the only reason why I started this was that I'd never done them before, and a friend of mine down in Tassie really liked them and suggested that I get into them. Absolutely loved them, until I got to realizing that they take up a lot of space and they're not amazing sellers for me. I know for the hobbyist they are. But for me, I'm wanting to have piles of fish coming through constantly and always out there, and people always buying them.
You need a lot of turnover.
You need a lot of turnover, and you need a lot of people really interested in them, and it's a little niche really in the hobby. It's lovely to have them, and for me it's lovely to have bred them, but now I'm kind of getting bored and I need to start with something else. But for somebody who likes this kind of a fish, the tangs are a really good one to begin with, because they're really bright, really beautiful, and they're such interesting little fish to breed.
For sure. What are these ones here? I've seen these before in hobbyist rooms.
That's the hump heads.
Yeah.
They're just in there because I didn't have a place to put them a little while ago, and they're going to be get their own tank.
Yeah.
The moment those Lulupi breeders are gone, so I got too many Lulupi breeders now. Those guys are waiting for them to evacuate, and the moment I sell them, they'll have their own tank. And there's a couple more spread around in tanks that will come here as well.
So you got some more cichlids over here.
Yep, we got a couple more over here. This is the Gelidochromis transcriptus.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
They're lovely little people. Hey, I really enjoy them. And because we do our own ceramics, people have said to me before, I really struggle to find a ceramic that works for them. So I wanted to bring them in, breed them, see how they're bred, try them with different things until I could find something that really worked for them.
Yeah.
And I found along the way, their natural tendency is to breed in vertical clefts. So we made a ceramic that worked for them like that. And you'll see in that over on the left-hand side, it's a very narrow ceramic with a little hole at the bottom. They go inside there and they wend their way up to the top, and that's where they do their thing. And then a little while later, you find a whole heap of little tiny people all around the hole. And
are they good parents?
It's worked. They're brilliant parents.
Yeah.
And it's a family kind of environment, so you can have a number of breeders in a tank, and everybody looks after the babies.
That's cool. Like, yeah, you can see
it's so cool.
There's little ones in here, and then there's the big ones too.
Yeah, most of them have been sold, but they're just getting going again. So there's a couple of the caves now that are occupied once again. So it's about to happen.
Yeah, you can
see those guys over there in the corner.
Yeah, something's going on here.
That's an original volcano actually, and it burst. And I thought, all right, well, let's go and throw that in there, and I'll close most of it up by putting a little flower pot inside. So I've sort of made it crevicey in a way. It's very narrow area between the flower pot and the volcano, and they're loving it. So cool. Yeah, you just find things that work for them, and there's a crazy one, but it's working.
Hey, look at these Morley loopies.
So these are, this is a spawn of loopies.
One spawn?
One spawn, yeah.
Okay.
I guess there's a couple of hundred in there. And, you know, they picked up their color pretty quickly.
Yeah.
They're looking really nice. They're only a couple of months old, but yeah, they're looking beautiful, aren't they?
Oh, they're so nice.
Yeah.
Look how cute they look.
It's magic seeing a whole bunch of them like that. Hey?
Just, are they like, you know, they're a bit
yeah,
shy,
they're a little bit shy. But they come back quickly. If you go in there, they'll duck.
Yep.
But once you give them some live food, or once you wiggle your finger there a little bit, they're probably a bit unfamiliar with a few people in here.
Yeah, for sure.
But they just come swarming up, especially when we do live food, when we're feeding Artemia. They all just come flocking up to the top. Just love it.
That's so cool.
Yeah, I love them.
So you use rainwater in here?
Yes. Look, we're out in the sticks. We're not like a lot of people where they just have town water and it's fantastic. You can switch on a tap and off you go. Here it's whatever falls out the sky. So if it doesn't fall out the sky, you have to buy it, and $250 for 10,000 litres. It costs you a lot. So you hope some rain comes, but we've been in a 6-month drought and we've been buying a lot of water. So I guess over those 6 months, we've probably spent $7,000 or $8,000 just to have water carted to us. This is a combination at the moment of rainwater and local water.
Yeah.
But I usually also put a lot of coral on the floors just to, you know, bolster the water a little bit.
Yeah, because the rainwater would come in and I'd assume it'd be pretty acidic.
It's slightly acidic, usually 6.8, 6.9, maybe 7. And yeah, I try and push it up. The coral helps. Not entirely, so I would still throw some tang salts in as well, just to help that along, especially if I'm into breeding them. Yeah. These guys don't necessarily need it, but the breeders do.
Okay. So yeah, the crushed coral just helps kind of to buffer the water in a way.
It buffers, it holds it, it maintains it at a pH, and it doesn't go shooting down as rainwater usually would. I mean, if you left rainwater and you kept on feeding, it would go down to 5.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And you know, those guys would really struggle.
Yeah, all those humic acids.
Yep. So I've got coral on the floor. We've got coral bags as well. So we make our own coral bags. That's just a vegetable bag, and we throw a bunch of coral in there. And once a week, when the filter gets cleaned, the coral bags come out. We shake it out in a bucket, and piles of detritus and whatnot comes out of there as well. There we are, they're starting to get
Yeah, so each one of these tanks, so you clean the filter weekly?
The filter is cleaned weekly.
Yeah.
There's a partial water change that happens weekly as well. And depending on what I'm wanting to do with the fish, if I'm wanting to spawn them, usually that water change is quite extensive.
Yeah.
And if it's just holding the fish, like these guys are just being held until they're ready to sell, which will be in a month's time, then it's a smaller change, maybe 10, 15%. If I'm breeding something and really wanting to give it a good whack and say, get going, you kind of need to tell them the flood's happening as a huge water change, and that would usually also make it happen for them. So a lot of fish, if you do giant water changes from something that's slightly off the pH that they want to exactly what they want, that'll get them going. And make sure that with that you've had lots of conditioning. The females are full of eggs. The males are usually ready to go anyway, as long as you keep the conditions more or less right. But a huge water change and lots of good live food. And for me, that is blackworm in particular for a lot of the breeders. For live food for the babies is always Artemia. That's what that little A up there signifies.
Right.
So whenever it comes to feeding, whoever's walking around in the morning or the afternoon, that is what they're looking at, and Artemia will go in there every morning, every afternoon, and if it's just an A like that, it's 1 scoop of Artemia, And if it's really strong, like these guys, we've got Petricola babies down here. Now, you don't see a whole lot of them. I'll put a torch on there. You can see them a little bit more. They're very light sensitive, so they start disappearing. But if you look down on the floor, you'll see a bunch of them moving around all over the place. So the tank might hold 500, 600, 700 babies at any one time. And they're in there amongst the scoria, just ferreting out food and bits of Artemia that haven't been found yet.
Jeez.
So that tank, for instance, it gets 3 scoops of Artemia morning and 3 scoops at night, and they are just forever looking for food.
Are there baby rams in there?
There are a few baby rams in there as well. I had nowhere to put them at one stage, so I chucked them in there.
Wow.
It's not the best because the Petricola are nocturnal.
Yep.
The rams obviously aren't, so I'm guessing that at night the Petricola probably interfere with the rams a bit. But there was nothing I could do at the time. I had no more space, so the rams came in here. And the rams at night will probably find a place to hide away. They'll hide away in this black plastic, and Petricola won't necessarily find them.
These are just rubbish bags.
This is rubbish bags. It's your standard rubbish bag. Look out, some of them are treated with various things that make them smell nice.
Yeah.
So make sure that you use a rubbish bag that's not tainted with anything.
Yeah.
And then I just chop it up and I basically turn it into a plastic flower. And I like this kind of thing because whenever they get moved, I can put boiling water onto it, I can sterilize it, and I can take it somewhere else. As opposed to an ordinary plant where you just can't do that and you don't know what it's carrying when it goes to another tank.
Will these grow out in here?
The black bags, no, they don't grow so well.
No.
No, the Petricola will grow out here. At some stage, I'll need to split them.
Yep.
As I say, I'm guessing there'd be 600 or 700 in this tank. So when they get to feeding more in the mid-level, I'll take the scoria out so they don't have to ferret for food anymore. They'll be happy to eat above that.
Yeah.
And I'll take them out and split them into 2 tanks.
And they'll grow out in a tank. You won't put these in a tub outside?
I don't usually put them in tubs outside because they are so popular. Once they get to about 2.5, 3 centimeters, they're gone.
Right.
So, you know, at any one time, I'm holding maybe 12 to 1,500 of these guys, and they go within 2 months, those are gone.
Wow.
So I do sell a lot of them, and they're extremely popular. And as a Petricola, it's a dwarf synodontis, which absolutely helps it as far as sales are concerned, because a lot of people use them in tiny tanks, and they don't get very big. Tops, you're looking at about 6 or 7 centimeters if they're given lots of space. But if they are kept in a small tank, they probably only get to about 4 centimeters, and it's absolutely ideal as a tiny fish growing up in a tiny tank, which is just so popular nowadays.
Yeah, they're cool. What else have we got going here?
Okay, well, let's go back to the beginning over there.
Yeah. So you got peppermints in here.
I've got peppermints on the floor.
Yep.
And I've got panda dwarf guppies above them.
Yeah, they're
so
cool.
That's the blue pandas.
Yeah, they're nice. I remember I got some of these from you years ago.
Yeah. And again, of course, they're extremely popular. The males are, I think, they're really beautiful. They're one of my favorites.
Yeah.
And again, the fact that they stay relatively small, they're great for small tanks. But it's also what I use as a dither fish for the peppermints. So if you have peppermints in a tank and you don't have any fish above them, they're always pretty skitsy.
Yeah.
And a lot of them are not that keen to get going and spawning. But if they have fish above them, it just puts them at ease. And you breed virtually all of the bristlenoses much better if you have some kind of dither fish above them.
How often are you getting a spawn out of your peps?
With these guys, because there's 3 females, at least every 2nd or 3rd week.
Really?
Once he's been sitting on the eggs for a couple of days, I'll take him away and I'll hatch them elsewhere, because every now and again you get a male that comes along and interferes with another male.
Yeah.
And then you come in the morning and there's eggs all over the place. So I just find it better to take them away and let them carry on their own.
How are you getting the spawns?
As in taking them away?
No, how are you actually getting them to spawn that frequently? Like, do you have any tricks for it?
I think the fact that, first of all, they feel at ease.
Yeah.
There's fish above them, so there's no issue. They feel totally at home there. We also feed them with a combination of dry foods and vegetable matter, and we feed them a flake food as well.
Yeah.
So they get a good variation in their diet, and the water changes, of course, makes all the difference.
So you also do a lot of angels, like behind me here.
Yep. There are angels all over the place. I guess it's clearly one of our big ones, our big deals. We have various colors of angels. There's spawns that we gather every day, so we're getting at least 1 or 2 spawns a day from the numbers of breeder fish that we have, and those again, they're taken away, so they're laying on the plastic pipes, the plastic tubes. They are fed extensively with blackworm.
Yeah.
That fills up the gills, and if you have a look at the dates on the tank, that'll usually tell you. So the last spawn, or a couple of spawns ago, 22 of the 10th. The next one was just a week later. The next one about 10 days later. So you're getting a spawn every week to 10 days out of them if you look after them well, and if you've conditioned them well with blackworm.
So these are pandas?
These are pandas. This is a combination, only because I'm looking to get something different out in their babies, and it's a combination of a gold marble pearl scale and a panda pearl scale. The gold marble pearl scale hasn't got great finish, but I'm hoping to get a couple of dark marbles out of the gold marble, because I ended up losing a bunch of dark marbles a while ago, and almost certainly that gold marble will give me dark marbles again. So yeah, a bit silly of me. I'll let the dark marbles decline, and I should have kept some babies back, and I didn't. So that's all about getting some dark marbles out.
That's cool.
The one's just behind you as well. Now, there's one dark marble there. He's not very good. The other one is decrepit. He's just living there, staying with them. But all of the other gold marbles that I've got in here will also give me dark marble back again. So they've just come in here in the last week. They're still getting used to their tank. And yeah, it's all about getting some dark marbles back. So there's hardly a dark marble there, but I'll get some dark marble babies out of them and bring that strain back again. They're very popular, yeah. And you know, if you're selling a mix, which we sell a lot of, and most of it's light, it's not as impressive as if you have a few dark fish in. I have black angels as well, and I now and again throw in a few black angels amongst the mix just to make it look nicer. But yeah, I wish I had more at the moment, and we don't have enough.
These are cool too. I want to look at these. These are the blues, aren't they?
So these are the sapphires, and a year ago I started working on adding veil tails to them, and they are producing absolutely beautiful babies now. So we'll see some down in the tunnels when we get down there. I'll show you some of their youngsters.
Cool.
And people nowadays are just loving the veil tails. So I've added veil tails to the sapphires that we
So you made the veil tails?
I've made the veil tails, and also done the same on platinum angels. So we've got sapphire veils and platinum veils.
Wow.
These are some of the blacks. Yeah, I've got a couple of groups of blacks. They spread out in various places on the 2 farms.
Are they aggressive for you?
He's aggressive. He's a pain in the bum, actually, because if ever she doesn't want to spawn, he kind of knocks her around a bit, and you'll see that she's a little bit tattered at the moment. But once she gets back into spawning again, then he likes her all over again. Never heard of that story before, have you?
No.
Anyway, there you go. Yeah. So yeah, they give us some nice fish. We get a fair amount of golds and gold marbles out of that pair. I have got some blacks that are producing just black, which is what I like the most. Yep. They give me standard black, they give me black pearl scale and black ghosts. So I get 3 variations of blacks out of these.
Wow. Look at all the spawns, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. We'll see some of these spawns as we travel, because we've got some spawns over here to our side.
Yeah, so you want to talk about that maybe?
Yep.
So let's just say, like, so you leave the pair in here and then they'll spawn on this?
Yep.
And then what happens after that?
After that, we take the plastic tube out, and I'll move it to a tank over there, and we'll put them in a new tank with methylene blue.
Wow,
all of them.
Babies in there, yeah.
Here's a batch. These are the platinum pearl scales that we saw just behind there. That's their babies.
Wow. Look at all those baby cichlids, hey?
Yeah.
Look how cute they are.
So if you travel downwards now, just to over here,
oh yeah,
there's a bunch of them.
So they go into a tank like this.
They go into a tank like this, and they're here for 2 to 3 weeks, just depending on when I have space to move them somewhere else. And the space somewhere else, let's travel downwards again, would be a tank like this.
Oh, jeez.
So it doesn't seem possible, but that was one spawn.
And they're all so nice. Like, look at their fins.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a combination of sapphire and platinum. I like the idea of crossing the two. So, you know, it just made it a little bit stronger. And then from here, they will go into a much larger tank system.
Yep.
Sometimes I would miss a step just depending on when space becomes available. And they'll go either into a bigger tank or they'll go into ponds down in the tunnels. If you go down to your right, down there,
yep,
you'll see here's a bigger tank now. So we've got a 100-litre tank here.
Yeah.
And that's all black angels, a couple of little hoppler babies down on the floor.
Yeah.
But that is, again, it's one spawn of black angels throughout that tank. They'll stay there until they get their wings. So we call it with angels that they get their wings, and they're just starting to get their wings now as the finnage starts developing. And when they're about double that size, we'll take them down into the tunnels and stock them into a 1,000-litre pond.
They look like little bats.
They are like little bats.
Yeah. That's cool.
Yeah, it's all about getting their wings, and when they got their wings, they can get out and pretty much leave the hatchery and start growing in a big environment.
Just so I can confirm, I mean, like, there's so many little angels. Like, there's up here.
Yep.
There's more here. Look at that.
Yep.
So.
Another batch.
Gee whiz.
These are rams.
Oh yeah, they're tiny.
Yep. They've only just come through.
Yeah, look at them all at the back.
Us little rams.
So how do you breed rams?
So this is kind of the end result of it. Well, the end result obviously is the babies swimming around, but there we go. That's a little ceramic plate.
Yeah.
And I'll put that. I've got two sizes of them. Some rams like the big plates, some rams like the little plates. And I've got a tank just over there that we'll have a look at. And yeah, just different sizes of plates with the breeders. That's over there in the top right, Nick.
Oh yeah.
So here's breeders. I only need one group of breeders. They produce enough for me. So if you have a look around there, you've got different size plates on the floor. And every day, it's pretty much like the angels with their tubes. Every day we just look at the plates, and the moment there's a spawn, we take the plates out. A lot of the rams, if you leave them, will chew up their eggs after a day or so.
Yeah.
So we take the eggs away and we hatch them, and that's the result across the way there of a bunch of rams growing up. They've hatched off the plate, and once we start feeding them with Artemia, they get a filter and off they go.
So do they just hatch like? Can we go back and look at that?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So they.
So if you have a look here, so they were produced. What are we on now? But the 24th, I think, of the 11th. They were produced by the breeders on the 13th. So about 6 days later, so I take them out the same day, and about 6 days later, they start to hatch. And about 2 days after that, we start feeding them. So these have only been fed for 2 days or so.
And they just eat brine shrimp from day one.
And they will eat brine shrimp from day one. Now, I used to always produce infusoria for them, because if you read most of the books, you have to have infusoria for rams. It's a bunch of twaddle.
Really?
Yep, you can get away with Artemia without any problem. Look, there's different sizes of Artemia depending on what Artemia you buy. some Artemia hatches out pretty small, and I've got quite a small one that hatches through, and the rams are quite fine on that. So you need to look at the sizes of Artemia that you're hatching out.
Yeah.
And if you're going to be doing something like this, use an Artemia that comes out really tiny for rams. Torch is gone.
Do you want to change it?
I'll get another one.
Yeah.
Let's go a little bit further down here.
Yeah.
Combination tank, I don't always have a complete huge spawn of angels. Sometimes it's just a half a spawn, and then I'll need to combine them with somebody. So this particular one has been combined with some Hoplo cats. Very popular. They grow like crazy because they eat like crazy. And it's possibly not the best combination of fish because the angels would struggle sometimes to find enough food, but I guess they've learnt how to get in there quick. The Hoplos generally stay on the floor, so while the Artemia is falling down to the mid layer, the angels have probably got something that they can eat. And then once it gets down to the floor, the Hoplos have nabbed it all. They are very, very heavy feeders, but they are beautiful little fish. I love Hoplos, I really do.
Yeah, they're so cool looking.
Yeah. Recently an albino Hoplo has appeared on the scene as well, and I've just started breeding those too. So
yeah,
hopefully along the way, I've got enough now that I've got some breeder groups that I can use, but hopefully along the way we'll have these out on the market as well.
Show us, do you have the breeders you can show us?
I can show you the breeders. These are the first little baby albinos. So
oh, right.
There's only a few of them there. Let's tip this up and see if we can find a few more. You see them amongst the plastic.
Yeah. Interesting.
There they go. I like them, but then anything that's a catfish I like.
Yeah. Freaky things.
Yeah. Yep, so I'll show you what the breeders look like. So they're over here. I think as far as a breeder, as far as an albino is concerned, they're quite nice. Yeah, they're not bad at all. So that's a female. That's a male over there on, that's a female on top of the wall, and that's a male over there, you see, with the orange pectorals.
Yeah.
Of course, so it's disappeared now. There's another male just popping out. Yeah, very strong and long and orange pectorals. The girl is over there, and she's on the wall because just above here they have just produced a nest. So
oh, they have.
There we are. If you look from below, with that much of a bubble nest, there will definitely be eggs there already. And the girl is waiting down below because they're still in the process of spawning.
So these spawn in a bubble nest?
They make a bubble nest. They're very much like gouramis, in fact, except they make huge nests. So once the male is looking after his eggs, once all of them have been produced and the male's looking after his eggs, he gets really serious about it. He chases the females away. This is the male that's worked. He's the one hanging around.
That's the boy there on the left?
Yep, on the right is the male.
Oh, that's the one on the right.
Yep, and the girl is on the left.
Okay,
there we are. You see those?
Yeah, I can see those
orange pectorals. Yep. And he's starting to chase away the girls. There's probably still a little bit of action happening, so he's not that serious about it now. But give it a while and they'll all be on the other side of the tank because he does get really serious about it.
How do you hatch them out?
So there's two things that are happening here. The wool on the floor is for any eggs that fall down.
Yeah.
When the Hoplos produce, the eggs are incredibly sticky, but sometimes they carry eggs both on their pectorals and on their whiskers, and they go and place them. And sometimes, if there's two fish in action at any one time, some of them fall down. So I put a little bit of wool down on the floor, and that catches anything that falls down. And once they're finished, again, the spawn gets taken away. I'll hatch them out in water with methylene blue in. Lots of aeration underneath, small bubbles, lots of it. To kind of mimic the action that the male would do in looking after them, because he goes up there and he continually cleans the eggs, continually moves around underneath, so he turns upside down and he cleans like crazy all around the eggs constantly. So I try and mimic the same thing with small air bubbles, but quite a lot of them, and they're directed right on the eggs.
Huh.
And the wool will come with us. and that will go into the tank as well because a number of fish will hatch off the wool too.
So you would have just, let's say, like this one.
Yep. So I floated in here. These air stones, I'll attach them to an airline and you'll see what the difference is. So if you look at just that air, it's quite heavy and it would knock eggs off. If you put this kind of an air stone on the end.
Oh yeah.
That's what you're needing. Lots of
fine
bubbles. And if you anchor the spawn in a spot, and I just do that with a piece of wire, I attach it to the top of the tank and I keep it in one place. And I put a really heavy weight on the air stone so it stays exactly where I want it to be.
And the eggs would just sit here.
And the eggs are on the polystyrene on top here. And that keeps them clean and it allows them to hatch really well. I'll stop it. Anna, could you please take these two away? They're shouting like crazy and it's appearing on the microphone.
It's all good.
As well as Jason.
So what are these down here, Trevor?
Okay, you've got a couple of combinations of fish here. We've got common whiptails.
Common whiptails.
And they enjoy going into these open-ended tubes.
Yeah.
And the females will lay eggs on the floor and then turf anybody out who comes along. I give them a couple of variations that they can use. So this kind of a tube here as well. They usually like the black, but I do a combination of white tube and black tube. They usually go up into the black tube. I think they feel a bit more comfortable. And also the diameter is slightly smaller. So they'll lay their eggs in those tubes and look after them pretty well there.
There's one there.
The male will be the one who does the looking after. Is there somebody in there? No. That's
I don't know.
That's the gold petricolas. A slightly different version of petricola that's come through. It's a gold petricola.
These ones?
Yeah, you're probably only going to see their nose because, again, they are nocturnal and they don't usually do much moving in the daytime. But we're not too far away from being able to get something out of them, I think. There's one hanging around in the background. Did he come out? No.
That's all right. Here, we'll try and film this one real quick.
Yeah, he might come out. Might do us a favour.
Yeah.
But yeah, cool. The open-ended ceramics usually work really well for all of the whiptails. There we are. There's petricola coming out. There's another one.
So how often do these whiptails? You're not spawning the petricola yet.
No, I'm conditioning the females up, and there's one female in here that's starting to look quite full.
Yep.
So I'll probably give it a go in about a month's time. She should be ready by then. We'll see how it goes. And I would spawn them using hormone and usually put a female and a couple of males together in a tank on their own with lots of places to hide away, lots of black plants so they feel secure.
Yeah.
And hopefully we'll get something out of them. Would be really nice because that's the first time that I would have spawned those.
And these common whiptails?
Yep.
Like, are you spawning these at the moment?
Yep, these particular ones are not spawning. They're youngsters still growing up, but
Okay.
we've got some that are spawning. There's some spawning in the container at the moment, so we'll go there.
We'll go look
And
there.
we've got filamentosa whips, and at a later stage, I'll be trying those golds down at the bottom.
Yeah, these are so cool. You were showing me these before. Yeah, so they're albino whiptails.
Yeah,
Wow.
lovely, aren't they?
They are.
So that's the albino royals.
Yeah.
That's a royal whiptail, an albino version
There's
of.
one down here too.
Absolutely beautiful. They've still got a long way to go. They're quite small at the moment, 5 or 6 centimeters, and they'll need to get to sort of 10 to 15 before anything happens.
How many of these did you buy?
I've got 10 of them.
Okay, yeah.
So we should certainly have enough to get something happening.
Yeah, they're cool as.
Yeah, there's a lot of albinos that, to my mind, don't really do much justice to a fish, but I think these ones are quite nice. They really are.
Look at them. How cool. What else is interesting? I mean, everything is, but yeah, these are cool.
Yep.
Look at this tank.
This doesn't look like a whole lot at the moment.
That's so cool.
So that's a bigger Petricola, bigger size of Petricola. These ones are sellable now, just. We'll see. I'll get something to stand on because I want to pick that whole lot up. Okay. Let me give you an idea with these guys. It looks like there's nothing, but of course they all hide away in amongst the dark stuff. I give this a bit of a shake and watch in the middle layers.
Gee.
Have a look on the floor.
Yeah.
It's like a bunch of ants, eh?
Yeah, it's like an angry ant's nest.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's what a good spawn of Petricola looks like.
That's unreal.
Yeah, aren't they lovely? And they're such cute little people, they really are
They're
nice.
so cute.
Sorry, we always say people because to us all of our fish are people, so we talk to them. Crazy fish people.
That's so cool. I've just never
Never seen so many.
Yeah, no, I really haven't, yeah.
So that's one spawn, and at any one time I've always got 3 spawns like that happening.
Jeez, I mean, yeah, wow.
So there's 3 different sizes. There's some down there that are the kind of the end of the run. There's only a few of them there. There might be 50 or so there. These are the ones now that I'm starting to sell, and then the ones that you saw on the other side where there's probably even more than this, where I said I'll split the tanks. That's a little bit more than what we see here.
Jeez.
Can you pick them up without a torch?
Yeah, I can pick them up, yeah. That's so cool.
Very active, aren't they?
Yeah.
Just lovely creatures.
So you've also got more pairs of angels?
Oh, there's pairs of angels all over the place. Don't forget also there is another farm that's producing angels, so this is just some of them.
Yeah.
Again, you've probably got most of these guys that are producing pretty extensively if you look at the labeling on there.
Yeah.
This particular pair has done all of those spawns and all of those spawns, so that's probably about 15 in total.
Good
and they're still going, and if you look at them, they're probably about to spawn in the
Yeah.
next day or so again. So we were looking at the baby Petricola over there. These are the breeders. One group of breeders. I've got 3 groups just to make sure that we never run out. And I spawn these every month. So each of the 3 groups is spawned once every 3 months.
How do you spawn them?
It's also a hormone-induced thing, and they are put into a tank usually with 5 males and 3 females, something like that. 5 males and 4 females. And I choose females that are really very heavy from lots of blackworm, being fed lots of blackworm and a standard good dry diet. You see that one that's just disappeared there?
Yeah,
she was
massive.
really heavy.
Yeah.
So they've got their pots that they like living in.
So these are just being conditioned?
These are being conditioned the whole time they're being conditioned, yeah. Yeah.
They look really cool.
If you come along at night, they're all over the place. But often, if you come in the morning, you don't find them until you look at one pot, and they're all in there. So yeah, they're very family orientated. They really like being with each other, and they always seem to pick on one pot that they like the most.
What about down here? These are more peps?
Yeah, so you got more peps here and a red line endler.
Yeah, they look cool.
Just a few breeders that are producing babies. And what I do with most of these endlers and things like the panda guppies, I'll go through the breeders about once every month, and that's usually when I end up taking the babies out as well and stocking them down in the tunnels.
Yeah.
And then put the breeder group back. And in that way, you're keeping the breeders clean the whole time, and you're making sure that you don't have, say, a leftover male youngster that's not very good, and he's ending up spawning with the females. So keep really nice breeders together, really strong and really pure breeders, and keep on stocking the babies elsewhere. And you can see from here, you've got peppermints all over the tank.
Yeah, you've
on the
let it
floor here
spawn.
down to the right. Near the filter, you got some. They're hanging around at the back there. They're all over the tubes as well. So Those are our ceramic tubes that we make, and good for all of the bristle noses. We have different sizes of tubes that we're doing, different sort of ceramics, and every one is designed for a particular purpose, just the same as the transcriptus, Gelidochromis transcriptus had their own caves. These guys have their own as well. We give them various sizes just in case there's a younger pair that needs to get in there. You see there's a bit of action happening in there. He's possibly got some eggs. Often the very end cave on the left is occupied with babies.
That end one there?
I can't really see. Is that
one
doing anything? Yeah,
here, wait, do you want me to have a look?
See if you can see anything there.
Nothing in there.
Nothing there?
Here, wait, I want to look in this one.
What about the little tiny one?
No, I don't think
No?
so.
Okay.
No.
No?
No.
Okay. So I'll be taking that spawn out. When it comes to taking the red line endler babies away, I'll take the peppermint babies away at the same time.
Yeah, normally you wouldn't raise them like that, right?
Oh, if there's eggs in just a bristlenose tank, in just a peppermint tank, then I would sometimes take them away. If they're really special to me, maybe it's a 201, something like that, then I'll always take them away. If it's a common thing like, you know, these peppermints, or if it's a calico or any of those kind of things, it just depends what's in the tank as well. If I don't want to disturb the other fish in the tank, I'll leave them in there, and if I desperately need that spawn, then I'll take it away. So it's a bit hit and miss what happens to them, whether they go or whether they stay. And it also, unfortunately, depends a great deal on how much time I have to do what.
Yeah.
Some things just end up being way more important than that, and then they stay behind 2 or 3 weeks longer than you want them to. So yeah,
Amen.
it's you always have intentions of coming back and doing something like that, but often it's 2 or 3 weeks later, and you think, damn, I still haven't done that. Here's a common hoplo.
These ones up here, comments?
Yeah. So this is the common hoplo. You can see there's a girl. She's as fat as.
Yeah.
And he's just thinking about, shall I be on the left of the tank or on the right of the tank? The girls are usually the ones, as they're getting older, the girls are usually the ones that push the boys because they just get so fat that they desperately need to spawn. I found just a couple of weeks ago that male was really slowed up, and I really needed to push him. So what I did was I found a male albino down here, and I just wanted to introduce another male to inspire the other one to get going, and it worked. Within 2 days of that albino male being in here, the common got the idea, and off they went. So it works. Sometimes you need to kind of think almost human-like, and you know what? If you're slowed up, mate, I'm going to fix that. We'll put somebody else in here that can do it if you can't, and then you'll get going.
That's so cool. I love them. Look at that funny face.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Pretty funny face, all right. But it's that fact that they're so funny, and probably to a lot of people so ugly, that makes them just beautiful to me. I love all of these ugly catfish.
The other thing too that I found cool about the room is that you do mystery snails.
Oh yeah, okay. Really big market for them. Obviously everybody wants to have something that's going to sort out the algae in their tank.
Yeah.
I do it as a combination of two things. Definitely it is to clean the tanks up, and in particular with babies, when they're up to about that size, you'll see a whole bunch of snails in the tank. If you come up to this one here, tiny babies in there, and it's always possible that you overfeed with Artemia.
Yes.
So the moment you are overfeeding, that's what the snails are fixing for you, because they'll always be cruising around with the floor. Artemia will only last in fresh water for a certain number of hours.
Yeah.
If you've overfed and the babies have eaten all they want, then the rest of the Artemia will fall on the floor and die, and that's where the snails come in. Some people do exactly the same thing with shrimps. So they'll have shrimps looking after their eggs and cleaning the tank. I use snails. I just find it so much easier.
And
So
this,
we have snails down here.
yeah, look at this.
So these are the snail shells,
Yeah.
and we take them out of the ponds down in the tunnels below.
Yeah, so they lay like on the sides, right?
They will lay on the side. So let's just take this one, and this is what you'll see. It'll be stuck to the pond like that.
Yeah.
So once it's been there for a couple of days and the shell has got quite hard, we'll pull them off the tank and we'll bring them up here and we'll put them on this tray that I've made, which has got a bit of gauze on it. And each morning what we do is just keep the shells from getting too hard so the babies can't hatch. Put a little bit of water on them to keep them soft. And you'll find that the moment they're hatching and you're doing that, you'll have a bunch of babies falling through that gauze coming into the tank.
Yeah.
If you have a look at that tank,
yeah,
that's just the front glass. If you have a look at where the food went in this morning, I'll shine here, see if it's any better. I mean, the floor is just covered in them wherever you look. And
the substrate is snails.
the substrate is snails, yeah. And when you consider that that's one, and then over here is another, and over here is another. We're just about finished with that lot as far as taking the babies away. And then here are some old ones that are just hanging about because we just stopped using them. So they've just got bigger in there. A couple of guppies that got thrown in for some reason or another, have no idea. So we'll clean this tank out next, and we'll bring the next bunch of snails across and hatch them out. Once they get to around about this size here, they go down with a batch of fish that I'm stocking into a pond, and I might throw in 200 or 300 snails into a pond that goes in with 200 or 300 or 400 fish. And the snails are then doing exactly the same thing down in the ponds. They're keeping the floor clean. And it's part and parcel of what I do in the ponds where I have no filtration whatsoever. So I have snails looking after the floor, eating the detritus, eating the old food that has fallen. And I have plant matter that looks after the quality of the water. And between those two things, I don't have filtration in the ponds at all.
Huh. These two, I just find these interesting. Are these...
Oh, okay, yeah.
What are
so
these?
This is the filamentosa whiptail.
Okay.
And
they're different to the common whiptails?
They are different, yeah. They're more reddish.
Yeah.
You get a little bit more mottling on them. Let's see if I can... So you got a... Oh, there's a little baby on top of ceramic and another one over at the back there.
Yeah.
I've taken most of the youngsters out of here. Once they get to about 5 centimeters, people want them. So that's when they sell. There's only a few left in here now.
Do they breed more readily than commons?
It's much of a muchness, you know. A lot of it is also a little bit dependent on how well you look after them, just like anything.
Yeah.
And if you forget to give them, you know, really, really good food, when you're wanting them to spawn, it doesn't go quite as well. So you have to continually clean the floors, you have to continually give them water changes, make sure that the filters are clean. These guys like really good water, so don't leave the filters for anything longer than a week.
Okay.
And then if you do, they'll stop spawning.
Right, maybe I've got to change my setup for some of these. Wow.
That's the thing with whiptails, yeah, they really want
like
good water,
right.
really good water.
Well, should we move to the next room?
Let's go elsewhere. It's a real struggle for me to talk as much as Jason does.
Yeah. So this here, this is the packing room.
This is the packing room, so this is almost the end of the operation. And what happens in here is that a lot of the curries that I produce, I don't know what numbers we produce now, maybe 14 or 15 different varieties. Whenever I can afford to spend a bit of time, I'll go and harvest a particular pond of curries, whether it's stir-bay or peppers or pandas or whatever. And I'll bring them in here, and this will become holding tanks for them. And if I've got, with stir-bay say, or with pandas, if I've got 50 to 100, it'll be enough. And if I've got 300 or 400 bronze curries, it'll be enough. So I'll bring curries in here all the time, and I'll do the same with angels. and that will happen from Thursday all the way through to Tuesday. So we have 4 or 5 days of harvesting of various fish, and knowing from the sales history how many we usually sell on a weekly basis, I'll know whether I've got enough. And then we collate all of the orders that have to come in by Monday morning, and then we'll know what I need to catch, and then I'll compare what's in here to what I still have to go and find outside.
So this is just like obviously there's lots and lots of fish in here, but these are all just so that it makes it easier for you when you need to pack fish on Wednesday.
It's easier to pack fish on Wednesday. There's one other thing, and you're showing it now.
Yeah.
That's the cory tanks. So every day the cory breeder buckets are looked at and spawns are brought up, and every week of hatching gets combined into one of these bigger tanks. So every week I'm creating another tank of mixed cories.
Yeah.
And you'll probably find 12 or so tanks in here of various mixed cories. So this is almost the end result of it. That's what a tank of cories will look like when they're bigger, easier to see now.
So do they just stay in these tanks since they hatch?
They stay in these tanks till they hatch, and if they stay too long, I can eventually start selling out of them. And otherwise, I harvest them when they're about this size above you, where they're sort of half size, and I'll go and put a bunch of mixed cories in with angels or rams or something like that, and I'll just harvest them when the angels and rams are big enough. So they can be a nice sort of 3 to 3.5 size, or if they're in there for a really long time, they might come out at a 4 centimeter size.
So you also, well, look at this. This is another angel spawn.
There are probably 10 or 12 tanks like this.
So you're also hatching things out in here?
Yeah, I use the packing room extensively. I mean, it's used for hatching angels, it's used for hatching cories, and it's used for carrying fish. There's no tanks in the whole area that are used more than the packing room tanks.
Wow.
And the reason why they're so small is to make sure that I can drain them and carry them wherever I need to.
Yeah.
Now, you see a lot of people with really big tanks that struggle to do anything with them. They might drain them, and then they try and catch them out, with a net, and it takes forever. What I do both with the fish that are ready to pack and go to customers, as well as with babies of whether it's endlers or cories or anything else, I just drain the tank completely, pick it up, and go and empty it into wherever it needs to be emptied. It's really, really quick. I have a few homemade things that are pretty useful as far as draining is concerned, so I'll drain the tank with that. A couple of seconds later it's drained, or else I can take that same thing and use this, which is a homemade device, and that means I can put that into a tank with minute fish, day-old babies, and I can drain the tank completely. It goes down to about there, so you just got an inch of water. The babies can't get through. It attaches to that pipe, and I can drain the tank completely and go and pour the babies wherever I want to as well.
Trevor, before we move on, can we go back to the other room? I just want to show the glass.
Oh,
stand.
yeah.
Yeah, we didn't look at that.
Yeah, okay.
Past the ceramics. I found this interesting. So this stand, this is one big aquarium in a way.
In a way, yes. It's 3 aquariums, one on top of the other. And this was an idea that came up from a guy called Fani Myberg at a hatchery that I was first at 35 years ago. And this guy was an engineer. And Brian Andrews, who became a partner in not my fish business, I was employed by him at one time, but we've become incredibly good friends. Brian Andrews and Fani Myberg created a Matikulu hatchery, which was the biggest hatchery in the Southern Hemisphere. We sold 300,000 to 400,000 fish every month.
Wow.
It was pretty busy. And Brian was tearing his hair out with stands, metal stands that rusted, wooden stands that just rotted away and tanks collapsed. And he said to Fani one day, there just doesn't seem to be another way to do it other than metal and wood. And finally said, let me think about it. And he came back and he said, let's build glass tanks on top of glass tanks on top of glass tanks. And we all laughed at him and said, that is just going to collapse. And he said, there's no reason why it should.
Yeah.
If you look at it with an engineer's mind, as long as everything is perfectly perpendicular and you're joining everything, so you're joining the side of that tank to the side of that tank to the side of that tank, the stability on the whole system is the thickness of glass, which is all of that. He says you've got 2 meter thick glass.
Yeah, so you got one big
holding
panel
that
there.
all down. Yeah. What we've done with this lot, you make your first tank, which has got 2 sides and a back. Stop.
A doggy.
Anna,
Hey.
please take him away. Okay, I'll start again.
That's all good.
So what you've got, if you look at the bottom tank, you've got 2 sides and a back that are the same height. And you've got a front piece of glass that gives you about 150 mils off whatever the back is. Then you have another tank, that's the middle one, that gets put on top of that one and it gets glued on top. So it gets each tank gets glued onto the next one. Then your top tank has a back, a front, and 2 sides that are all exactly the same height. And the top tank gets glued onto the other 2.
I see it. It's like, so it's like a big tank, but there's a gap in this top.
But there's a gap in the bottom, and there's a gap in the middle, and then obviously you can get your hand in there easy. So it allows you to get in there and do whatever you want on the bottom 2 tanks, and off you go. The other thing is, we put them on cement blocks. So the first thing we do is have a cement block with a slurry of cement put onto the floor, and then a slurry of cement all the way around 3 sides of it. And then the first tank is dropped onto that slurry and seated, and you make sure when you put it in that everything is absolutely straight. So you're using a level when you're putting this on. And you level the back, and you level the front, and you level the ends.
How long have you had these tanks set up like this?
These ones have been here ever since I started this hatchery, which would be 12, 14, 13 years ago maybe. And these ones over here, I bought from Brian when he closed down a hatchery, and he'd had these functioning for 20 years already. So this lot of tanks and the other tall ones on the other side are 35 years old.
Wow.
And no tank system has ever collapsed. If they do go, they would just split a seam, and it's often in the front middle, or on the front or on the back middle. Very rarely anywhere else. But if you look at this and you think that is crazy, there's no ways that can stand up. 20 years old, 15 years old, 35 years old. No rotting. No timber problems, no metal problems, nothing that will ever go.
And low material costs.
Like
it'd be easier to set up. If you could build all your own tanks. So
So when we put them in, so we created them on outside of here and then carried them in, which is probably where I ended up getting 2 hernias because they're pretty heavy. When you've got 3 tanks all in a row that you're picking up and maneuvering. But they last forever.
And the temperature in this room too, 30 degrees.
Yep, 30 degrees. It fluctuates between about 27 and 30, and that's more dependent on what I'm trying to breed at the time. So I've pushed it up just in the last 2 days because I wanted those albino hoplos to spawn.
And you've also got aircon over there.
So there's aircon that's set at a particular level.
And spray foam.
And spray foam over the whole place. So the spray foam insulation is at least 5 centimeters thick everywhere. And it's really just like being in a very big esky.
It is. It feels like it, but...
the insulation on spray foam is incredible. It's amazing. It really is good. It's the most expensive way to insulate, but it's the best.
No,
Absolutely the best.
All right, do you want to go look?
Yeah. Let's go somewhere else. Let's get out of here.
Look at the amount of esky boxes you've got. Jeez.
It's really beneficial to us. We pick these up from a couple of places, guys who bring in their own fish, obviously, but this would usually end up in landfill.
Yeah.
And it's super beneficial to both the shops who get them out of their way. It's great for us to have them and be able to pass on that saving to the customer. So obviously we don't charge anything for this. So the customers aren't charged for boxes and keeps them out of the landfill. So it's a kind of a win-win all round.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I save them and I use them to send again as well at mine. So.
Yeah. I think with our industry, you know, we've got so much polystyrene, so much plastic, and it's bloody awful as far as that's concerned. So any kind of recycling we can do would be amazing. Really amazing.
I agree.
I'm still really keen on trying to find a better way of recycling broken boxes rather than just turfing them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love to.
So fishies, hey?
Yeah, here we are.
These are the most beautiful dubs I've ever seen. Look at them. Dubalayi.
That's called the Yeerongpilly Creek dubs. They come from close to Woodford in Queensland.
Yep.
There's the Yeerom Creek that runs through Yeerom area, and it goes through from Yeerom all the way through to one of the big dams that supply water to Brisbane. And these guys are in there, so I took out 15 or 20 a very long time ago, and I've just never stopped breeding them because people like them so much.
So you've also got a few others here. These look like deep water creeks or something.
This is the Davies Creek.
Davies Creek.
And it comes from the top of Atherton Tableland, I believe.
Oh, wow.
They're quite nice.
Splendidas.
Yeah, it's one of those that, you know, that you can see the breeders are pretty large.
Me and Jason have been to Davies Creek.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, well, I've never. I just got sent them, which is quite nice, from somebody who was breeding them.
You should come with us again.
Yeah, for sure. And because it's quite a big rainbow, the babies I found are quite fast growing.
Yeah.
So, you know, you can get them up to a decent size as opposed to so many of the other rainbows that are very slow growing. These guys are quite fast, and after 3.5, 4 months, you've got a decent sized rainbow, whereas a lot of the others are more like 5 or 6 months.
Yeah.
So it's a lovely fish as far as that's concerned. I think it's pretty beautiful too.
Yeah, for a native, for sure.
Yeah.
And then these are your bozzies.
These are Bosmanis.
Bosmanis. They're massive.
You seem to have various color combinations of these, so
Yeah.
everybody that we sell to seems to like these more because of the orange, the strong orange, than anything else. And they do us proud. They really do. We always carry probably 4 or 5 or 6 ponds of them growing through.
Yeah.
And yeah, you know, if you have it running continuously, you don't really notice the fact that it takes a long time to grow.
That's the thing that makes them really, really hard to commercially produce, isn't it?
It is. And you don't get a whole lot for them, but they are just, yeah, such long growing fish. 5 or 6 months before you can sell something, that's a problem. Some of these are becoming a little bit long in the tooth. I've got some young stuff now that's growing through. And these are certainly on their last season now, and then I'll move them on and bring some youngsters through.
But they spawn like every day, and they'll spawn in the subwasser tank.
They're constantly spawning, so you know you get more spawn than you want.
Yep.
And we take out the subwasser tank maybe once every week, just depending on when we have space.
Yep.
And we'll take that out, put it in a tank that's slightly warmer than this, have them hatching in about 6 days. And then whatever has hatched, that's how much we grow through. Sometimes it's only 50 fish, sometimes it's 300. So, you know, there's always eggs in there. There's always eggs produced on different days. You do get a bit of a variation in size because of that as they grow through. But yeah, it's a good one and a very, very simple one. Any of the rainbows are. They're incredibly simple to breed.
Yeah, for sure. And you've got praycocks as well.
I got some praycocks that are kind of at the right age now. They're beginning to throw a few eggs. Quite a lot of them are still a little bit young, but they're getting there.
Yeah.
And same thing there. We just take the Civisitang away when they're when we feel like having some.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the nice thing about rainbows. It's like when I want them, I get them.
Yeah. So if I suddenly have, dearth of space down below, I think, okay, well, let's put some rainbows in there. And I have a tunnel that is heavily covered with shade cloth to keep it cooler. And that's where I put all of the rainbows.
These are the most amazing rainbows, I reckon.
They're beautiful, aren't they?
Like,
what
fish looks like that?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just wild too.
Yeah.
That's what they naturally look like.
Yeah.
I'd love to go and see their habitat someday.
Oh, it would be good.
It's a bit sketchy over there.
It's a bit sketchy. Yeah. Sometimes you think, I wonder if I'll come out of that forest alive.
Yeah.
You never know.
Yeah. Do you want to go look at the cories?
Yes, let's do that. There's just tanks everywhere here, and
like, look at these.
They are. It's always almost always a cory or a rainbow grow out section.
Yeah.
Both of those fish, you wouldn't think rainbows, as far as grow out is concerned, would like pretty ordinary conditions, but they're okay with it. The cories can take just about anything. At the moment, because of the temperatures, the albino cories have been spawning like crazy, and the normal cories have slowed down. Or normal pepper cories have slowed down. They like it even colder than we've had over this winter, so most of what you see here is albino cories. There's some common bronze cories. There's a few pepper cories, but not enough.
Yeah.
And
look at this, wow.
It's all rainwater, which we've only just thankfully been given from the skies. We've had quite a bit of rain in Queensland over the last week.
Yep.
So I've been able to fill these up and give them a bit of a better drink than they've had before. So yeah, albino peppers, ordinary peppers.
Wait, look at these.
Some Bosmani.
So these are freshly born.
Yeah, well that's when they were produced, which was on the 13th. They hatch about 6 days later, so they're only 2 or 3 days old.
How do you hatch them out? Just put the eggs in here with a bit of methylene blue?
Yep, the eggs come out here in methylene blue, strong aeration around the eggs, and depending on the temperature, because no insulation here, so it just depends what the weather feels like giving us.
Yep.
But yeah, they'll hatch usually in 5, 6, and if it's really cold, 7 days time. And then off we go with the normal procedure, loads of Artemia.
Jeez.
Now you have a look at that filter even. That's a pretty gunky filter.
Yeah.
And that'll tell you also how much food they're being fed.
Yeah, lots and lots of shells in there.
Yeah, lots of shells in there. It's pretty awful. They can take it. They're certainly in need of a clean. But the cories are really good as far as that's concerned.
Yeah, hardy.
They come through in pretty awful conditions. They're very hardy. And every pond of rainbows, angels, everything under the sun gets cories underneath them. So there'll always be a pond with a middle layer of fish and a bottom layer of fish.
You're also raising Bosmanis.
I've stocked most of them. There's just a few in here, I think. I don't think it's too many.
Yeah. Oh yeah, they're
There's a
quite
few.
large.
Yeah.
Did they grow all the way to this size?
Yeah, because there's not that many. They've just stayed here. I haven't bothered to stock a pond with them, so I guess there's only about 50 fish there. And they've stayed there forever.
Nice. That's cool. And then you've got, is this still happening over here?
This is about to happen. That is going to be another pack room.
Okay. Wow. We're expanding.
So, yeah, it's not going to make the room look all that cool. There's going to be a wall down here and across there, and those stands are going to carry bigger tanks.
Yeah.
It's going to be a packing room, and that's where I'm going to put most of the cichlids that I harvest. The cichlids struggle in the really tiny tanks in the pack room, and they take up too much space. As you can see in the pack room, I'm using it a lot for hatching out stuff too. So the pack room just became too small, so we need another room. And yeah,
I find it amazing you build everything yourself.
Once I decide I need something, then we'll build it and real quick.
Yeah.
So yeah, this hopefully will be up in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
Jeez.
And yeah, we get going with the next project. I can't keep still. Hey, there's always something that has to happen. So this is the next one. Actually, no, this is the second next one. The next one is going to be moving which we've already started, moving an old system of tunnel into a new system of tunnel. And we're basically going to reverse a bunch of ponds into a new tunnel and put polystyrene boxes in the other one because we need to carry a tunnel just for polystyrene boxes.
So cool.
So we're growing polystyrene boxes too.
Yeah. No,
and then
I'm like speechless. Like there's so much here to.
It's got to keep happening.
Yeah.
I can't stay in one place. It's got to keep happening. And then
look, there's even more in here.
Oh yeah, they're everywhere. I'll stop with my torch. It's probably not that good.
No, that's all right.
You're good with that, eh?
Yeah.
Wherever you look, if there's a tank, it's going to be used.
Jeez. There was something cool over here I saw when I was walking around that I wanted to show people. It was angels raising their babies. Look.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they aren't usually allowed to, but these guys got really clever, and they plastered their eggs to the back of the tube, so we didn't notice. That was the big tube on the right. So they grew them out there, and
on the big tube on the right.
On the big tube on the right, they grew them out at the back of it, and then we realized, they've got eggs. But by then it was too late because they were just beginning to hatch.
So and they look like mostly black.
Those are a pure black spawn. They're really nice,
dark
lovely babies. Yeah, they will be black, normal black, and black pearl skull, and black ghosts.
That's so cool.
Yeah, they produce lovely babies, those. And because I need to
nice
have
quality too. Look,
that's a bit of blackworm hanging about there that they don't feel like. And because I need to have more angels growing out in summertime than we're currently producing, these tanks above us, which currently say no fish, by next week we'll have fish.
Yeah.
I'm bringing 6 more pairs across from the other farm so that we have more variation in our spawn coming through.
Wow. All right.
Okay.
This is one of the coolest things in the farm.
Glad you think so.
Yeah, the shipping container.
I promise you, Anna doesn't think so.
Anna doesn't like this one.
I tell you what, Teddy, our brand new puppy, he likes it a lot. As we seem to be producing a few cockroaches in here as well.
Oh yeah.
And Teddy just loves coming in here, and he chases the cockroaches all over the place. So yeah, there's a lot of fish coming out of here and a few cockroaches that Teddy sorts out. There was a space here, and well, I had to put tanks in, and I had to grow more angels. So there's angels coming through in there. The first batch have already gone and been stocked down below. This is the second batch for these tanks.
These are all just angels everywhere.
Angels, angels, angels.
Wow. Like 2,000 angels right there.
Probably.
Easy. Yeah.
Probably.
So this room is used for catfish.
It's mostly catfish, but if I end up having a tank and I don't immediately have a catfish to put in it, I'll put something else in it, because there's always some fish waiting to come out into a bigger space. So these are, they don't look like it, but they are our baby hoplos that were produced on that date. So
they're a month old.
They've been heavily fed with blackworm because I needed to bring up more breeders very quickly. They've come through incredibly fast, and as you can see, all they ever want is food. They are just chockers with blackworms the whole time. So that's the future breeders, and they're not very far away. Not far away at all. We were
it's in here.
We were looking at whiptails down below.
Yep.
Said there is another area. So if you look on the floor, there's a little tiny fellow creeping around, and there'll be more, and they'll be all over the ceramics and up the side walls.
Yeah, there's little babies everywhere.
There's little babies, and hopefully in the other one you might have somebody sitting on eggs perhaps, or they could have just hatched, I'm not sure.
In there?
Yeah, is there somebody sitting in there?
I don't think so.
No, okay.
Right.
But yeah, there's that's common whips coming through in here. Yeah, if you have a look on the back wall.
Oh, I can't get there.
Can't
Look
reach
at that!
it.
Look at that one on the top of the. What a unit.
Yeah,
So these are commons.
these are commons, and we make half logs as well as the completely end-free ceramics as well. And they sometimes like spawning underneath those, or if you give them a piece of timber that's very flat, they'll spawn under that.
So they'll just spawn like on the floor.
Yeah,
and then raise their babies. Like,
yeah, if you see that piece of timber, there's not much to it. It's just got a little curve to it.
Oh, there is eggs.
And they will, I thought there were eggs somewhere in there, and they will go underneath there. Again, like bristle noses, they do love really close quarters.
Yeah, here.
So
It's maybe. I'm trying. There you go.
and the male will look after those for a few days, and
So
once
he'll just sit there and take
he'll
care
just sit there and take care of them. But you'll always know when they're about to hatch, because he almost starts hopping on top of them, and you see him doing that extra little hopping movement, and then you know they're very close to hatching.
That's so cool.
So yeah, you've got one generation in front of him and another bunch about to come through.
Yeah, there's like another.
Yeah.
That little one there I want to show as well.
And yeah,
I find
well,
these so
there's
interesting.
There's actually 3 generations in here.
I find these fish so interesting.
They are amazing, aren't they?
Nice. What else is going on?
Calicos. So when I say that I take bristle noses away, this was a calico male that got brought here. And once his babies hatched out, I took him. Did I take him away? I think I took him away to go back into the breeder tank again. And these are the youngsters now coming through.
So it's got commons and calicos.
Yeah, this is just calicos in here.
Oh, so
There might be the occasional one that's darker than the other, but this is just calico bristle noses.
Right.
Marble bristle noses, calico bristle noses, same thing.
Yep.
Yep. Over here, one of the L numbers that we're doing are L270s.
Oh yeah. Nice. Chocolate zebras.
Chocolate zebras, yeah. So there should be. I've been selling some of these already. We should have. There we are. There's a few of them still left. I think they're quite nice.
How do they go breeding? Are you pretty? Obviously, you've got some babies.
They will come through. There's a few at the back.
Yeah.
They will come through probably every second month for me. I don't think they're that prolific. There's a whole bunch of them.
Are they still like viable? Like
they certainly are viable. I think the guys that are doing the L's extensively are doing all right.
Yeah.
There's a couple of other fish. There's a longfin albino in there. It's almost become a spare tank now because I've sold half of them. So then if I sell another tank with just a few left, they just get combined somewhere. That to me is tragic, just to see an empty tank.
Yeah. It's alright. I'm sure to find a way to fill it.
Yep.
Or angels or something.
So these are albino, just the standard albino cory.
Yeah.
And some flagtail cories at the back, probably. There's a couple over there in the far corner. These are flagtail cory breeders.
Oh yeah.
Very pretty. I like them.
They come out.
I can move that ceramic. Yes, so bred a few. They're not that prolific.
How do you get them to spawn?
They go down also to the cory area. Let's see if we can get somebody to stand still.
Oh, I can see them, yeah. So do they go in the bins?
They go in the bins, yeah. Sometimes they just don't produce that well in the bin, and then I'll bring them back up here and I'll set up a tank and try and spawn them in the tank. As I say, they're not that prolific, so they tend to get moved around a bit. And I'll sometimes try them in various areas until something happens somewhere.
Yeah, they look cool. Flagtails at the back, like, yeah. Interesting.
The albino cories are just here to grow out new breeders.
Wow.
Guess what? Those things again.
You're going bananas. There's so many.
Those are platinum pearl scale angels. Got the platinum color, but the pearl scale really makes them glisten when they're big.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's although it's just a uniform color, it's quite a pretty one, especially when you shine a torch on it, and you get that glistening effect from the pearl scale.
So cool.
Albino bristlenoses.
Yeah.
Also with a bunch of our ceramics, we give them different sizes depending on what they feel like choosing.
Yeah.
And different breeders will go for different things. I mean, if I was a breeder, I wouldn't choose a triangular one, but yeah, it works. And there we are, sometimes the little ones and sometimes the halfer ones. And if there's any defect in what we make and we think, yeah, well, we'll still put it in the kiln and we'll still fire it, but that'll just become our thing.
Yeah. Here he is. Trying to figure out how to use the gate. Australian biotopes.
What are you boys doing in here?
And then,
okay, and in here, filamentosa whips.
Yeah.
So we saw the filamentosas in the hatchery as well. This is just another setup. I'm trying them in the container just because it's got running water in here. So this is a system on itself.
Yeah, it's a sump.
So we're running a sump filter system in here. They did produce, but not a huge spawn, so maybe they don't like it as much as they do.
They're
in the
all
hatchery.
here on the left, I think.
Yeah, there's a few there, but yeah, it's just this tank hasn't particularly turned them on, so they're unlikely to stay here for too much longer.
Yeah, you just keep moving them along and make sure they keep going.
Yeah, yeah.
Super reds.
Some super red bristles.
Oh, that's a really nice one. These would be a very popular seller.
They are a popular seller. They're a good one. And when I do them in natural ponds, they come through really, really bright. It's a beautiful bright red.
Can't see the red in here now, but
no, in these conditions they are quite pale, but yeah, their babies come through really well.
They got to be one of my favourite bristlenose super reds.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's a good one.
Cool.
But the natural conditions down in the ponds are probably the best thing for any bristlenose. You've never seen as good a colour as you'll see in the ponds.
Oh yeah, the ponds would just bring out all.
Yeah. So these are the 270s. They've just started bringing some babies out. There's one stuck in the back. Here's one stuck on the pole.
So you just let them kind of...
They do their own thing. The moment they appear, there's one over in the corner. Yeah. And the moment they appear, because water's flowing over the top of that pipe, I'll put a little filter on top there now to stop them getting out.
Yeah, just over that thing there.
Yeah, I've always produced these fish and they have always produced in exactly the same place, and that's what we now call the condominium.
I think is he trapping more?
He will have more there, yeah. Yeah, there'll still be some sitting in there because only a few have come out.
I think he might be trapping another female.
Oh, okay. That's always the one where he spawns?
Yeah, look, he's got another female in there already.
Okay, all right. Well,
I'll stop flashing there and freaking him out.
That's all right.
That's so
He'll stay there.
That's so cool.
But, you know, that was a half a cave. It broke and it got stuck to a rock just to see if it could be used. And that is what he's loved every time. In there? He has probably put through 20 spawns in that cave, yeah.
That is such a cool
I've had these for a long time.
Why don't you make some of these and sell them?
Well, because I've always thought it's only him who likes it.
Have you tried?
I've never tried it on anybody else. So it comes back to the same thing. You need lots of time for all these things. We've always got so many ideas with ceramics and we don't get around to it.
Look at this.
But
he's got,
he loves that cave.
See the cave there on the right?
Yep.
They always spawn. It's got a half cave on the
stuck on the
left.
Yep.
And then he's glued it onto the rock. Look.
Yep.
And that's it's trapped in there, and like 20 spawns or something through there.
Oh, if not more.
It goes to show you always experiment.
Yeah. Just keep on going. You see the little people all over the place.
333s here too.
Yep.
Do you get a lot of these?
No. most of these are fairly old. That one certainly isn't. They do a lot of flapping, a lot of waving, but I rarely get a spawn out of them.
Never make it to third base.
Yeah, they just don't seem to do it. Had them for a long time. I probably had 4 or 5 spawns out of them, but no more than that.
Yeah, it's just not viable, I
Well,
guess.
that bunch hardly is, no.
That's the thing with Pleckies, you get one good group.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, these are so big. Oh, he ran away.
Oh.
The 201s,
There
are
we
they?
are, 201s, yep.
Mine aren't even close to being this massive.
Well, that's not good. I don't go for big fish when it comes to L's. I think by then they're past it. And the girl, if you take her out, she's fat as, but it just doesn't happen, and I've tried so many different things to get this lot happening.
How old are these?
I'd probably guess at about 4 years now.
Get the best results for middle age rather than.
Well, I find exactly the opposite. Hey, just from sort of 2 years, you're starting to think it's good. And 2 to 3 years, I really like that. And once they get beyond that, it's like, nah, sometimes they will.
It's a bit like that with blue eyes and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
They have
yeah,
a
yeah.
peak period, like
Yep,
chooks or
yep,
anything else,
yep,
they have a
yep.
peak period and then they slow back
And
down
then they
again.
just don't want to know anymore, and they'd rather just be kept.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if mine aren't a different species. They look completely different to mine.
It might also be the water type and the water situation in here.
Yeah, they're so cool. All right, here's
Yeah.
this is obviously you're the master. I'm just,
No, I'm not.
but I was talking to Harlan about this. I was having trouble with a lot of my L's.
Yep.
And I'm not an expert, but what I did was for a week I did 50% water changes daily,
Yep.
and everything started spawning again.
Okay, yeah.
Like my Zebs, I thought I had all males. They
Yep.
spawned,
Yeah.
and they're trapping again.
Yeah.
My peppermints spawned 201s. I've got about 50 201s. So just everything went nuts after the water changes.
Yeah.
So I'm sure you're doing plenty in here
Well,
already.
I know with orange spots, I used to do that a long time ago when I was producing a lot of them.
Easy.
And I would do a 7/8 water change. When I saw the females nice and fat, just basically let them flap around in a tiny bit of water and fill the whole tank, and the next morning they'd spawn.
Yeah, just like a massive.
So yeah,
90%,
massive.
yeah.
These guys get a slight water change every morning, every night. The filter gets cleaned. And whatever is needed to top up, that's what it gets. But I mean, that still basically keeps it stable.
Here's another question for you.
Yeah.
Easier to breed ones, if you put them in the top of the breeding rack,
Yeah.
do they release a pheromone down to the lower ones that are harder to breed to encourage them to breed through
Yeah.
that same water, you reckon?
I don't know.
Because I've heard of that before.
Yeah.
I've often thought, I wonder if that's a good idea to try that.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, like put your standard bristle noses at the top,
Yep.
where they readily breed,
Yep,
and
yep.
then get your harder ones that breed down the bottom and actually have that water running through that system.
Yeah, yeah.
You know, like when they're in a stream and they start breeding, the
Yeah.
pheromones can go through that water and encourage the rest of them to breed around the same time.
Okay,
too, you
yeah,
know?
yeah.
You never know.
I think it's a lovely idea. Hey, it's certainly worth a go. Yeah.
And then what's over here, Trevor?
So that's filamentoses, which we've seen
we've
before.
seen plenty.
Calicos, which, doing the same thing. I probably get 2 or 3 spawns of calicos out on a weekly basis, and usually I just pick them up and go and put them somewhere else, like the calicos that we looked at behind you.
Yeah.
Often it's the top one, so that guy's just starting to wave around a bit, he's shaking a bit, so
Yeah,
he might
he's
well
keen.
have a spawn, or he's keen. So that's coming close, and I'll have a good look in a couple of days' time.
You have a lot of common whips.
Yep, there's whiptails around and about the place. Here's a few more on the floor.
Here, look at this big
Couple of big lady
boys,
there.
yeah.
Couple of big ones there.
Like a long bristle nose in a weird way.
A long flat bristle nose.
Yeah.
Very flat.
That's
Yeah.
super cool. All right, well, I guess that
And
finished.
yeah, there we are. A few more of them. Bunch of hoplas coming through.
Jeez.
They're a strange, cool looking catfish, aren't they?
Couple of them around her. So there's a few tanks of these.
I love them.
These are just so popular. Hey?
So this is the sum.
So this is the sump. Everything comes out here.
Can you just clean this?
I've got a pre-filter at the top, and
Yeah.
then I've got a bit of sponge underneath of that. So the pre-filter and the sponge comes away and gets cleaned. Then it's bioballs, scoria, a bit of coral.
Yep.
And a bit more scoria, and then the pump, off it goes. I can vary this. I can move the flow around a little bit as I want. And that gets cleaned every morning and every night.
Wow.
Because everything is fed so extensively, and in particular things like these hoppos that are absolute gutsers, the place needs to be looked after well. You know, the filters need to be well looked after.
All right, well, should we go look at the grow out?
Let's get out of here.
Let's go. Looks a bit different.
It's probably different to last time because I didn't have shade cloth on it when you were last here, I think.
So, yeah.
So summertime I put shade cloth on.
Look at this.
And yeah, all of the ponds here in the center were inside the other tunnel.
Yeah.
So yeah, it looks like shit at the moment.
No, it doesn't look it. It's just...
It does.
So what are these?
So these have come out of this tunnel here.
Yeah.
And the idea is between the difference in temperature between this tunnel and the far one is quite marked. That far one probably gets...
Did you just slip? Did you just slip? I think I filmed it.
Maybe.
That far one gets 3 or 4 degrees warmer. So I had fish in this one.
Cloth, right? That back one.
No, not. It's just because of the positioning and the trees. So we have the afternoon sun going over there, and those trees take out all of the sun for this one, but that one still gets it. So that one has been a polystyrene box tunnel, and I'm just moving those to here and the ponds to there. So they're in a warmer environment.
So these are what you use, these IBCs, to grow out the fish?
Yeah, these are what we use, and this is how I cut them, so you can work with them easily. A very long time ago, I used to have them, you know, standardly, where the railings are probably up to about here and here. And first of all, once they rust, you get an oxide that falls into the pond that is very toxic to fish, which I didn't know anything about. There's an aluminium oxide that's inside of the rails, and once that rots and it goes into your water, you've lost lots and lots of fish. Right. So it's really good to cut them down to this height, so you don't have that issue.
So you cut the cage down to here?
I cut the cage down to there, but also if you're working with it, you can rest, you can lean over here, and it feels really comfortable.
Yeah.
And the way that I do it, because you've got your exit hole there, so you'd open that up, and basically if we look at, oh, this one's got a bit of water, I might not try that one.
You know what I do?
I'll bust a 50 valve, but that's kind of how I would want them.
So that it always
when they're
drains.
in the tunnel, so it's always very easy to drain.
Yeah.
And when they're this kind of a height and you're leaning over it, it's really easy to work in there.
Yeah, for sure.
You know
Yeah, let's have a look at a tunnel here that is set up, and then I'll show you one where these have come out of, and you can get a feeling for what it's all about.
Alrighty. Here we go.
So there we go. That's a happening one.
Jeez. Look at all the fish.
Beauty.
So that kind of gives you an idea with the lean, and you know, the moment you open the drain, it can all come out. If I'm going to be harvesting a pond of fish, I'll put a submersible in here.
Yeah.
And if the water is still fine, I'll pump it to an empty pond and use it again. Over at the other facility, I use all of the excess water for growing out snails.
Right.
The snails and the corries, because they can take pretty ordinary conditions.
So you don't waste the water.
They're happy to have old water.
So
if it's over here and I don't want the water, I'll just put it out onto the paddock. It grows near really nice turf for the horses, which are just next door to us. Yeah.
So, like, you've got these on an angle.
Yep.
So they're propped up, and this is a 10 by 4.
This is a 10 by 4 tunnel.
Yeah.
And when you've cut the rails off, it overlaps a little bit when they are up here. So you have that one like that, and it's just too close.
Yeah.
When they've got the rails on, but when they cut, you can just push them up against each other a little bit neater, and you can very easily get 9 in a row.
So you can get 18 in one.
You get 18 in one tunnel. So, you know, almost 1,000 litres each. You're looking at 18,000 litres in a 10x4 tunnel.
And then you've attached the airline tubing up here.
Yep, so the airline tubing runs right the way across the top.
Yeah, it goes all the way over here.
Having it come down just means it's out of your way. Yeah. It's not stuck to a pipe, it's not in front of you, it doesn't get in your way at all.
Is there a sponge filter or is it just air?
No, everything is unfiltered.
Oh, wow. So the green water kind of like filters it in a weird way.
Well, you've got a combination of snails looking after the floor.
Yep.
So if excess food, a little bit the same as what you have with the glass tanks, excess food, the snails eat it up, and you've got plants on top that will take out excess nutrients as well, and that will also look after the quality of your water.
And I'm not a big fan of duckweed in tanks, but out here it's so useful, isn't it?
I'm not a big fan of it anywhere, you know, it's really not one of those that you would love to have anywhere else. I'm really careful with where it goes after here, it just doesn't leave here.
Okay.
But it does a really good job. It'll take out loads of excess nutrients in a pond. It will really look after the water well. If you have something like goldfish, like are here, they'll eat it. That's why there's none left there. I put it on every day and they just scoff it down. So some fish will eat it as well. So it's a food for some fish too. And it's a great place for guppies or endlers or anything like that. When you have longish roots, when it's taken out just about all the nutrients in the water, it grows quite long roots. You can always use that as a place for the babies to hide up in.
Yeah, for sure, yeah.
So it's good for numerous reasons, and I've noticed that the snails will have a little chomp on it too.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
How have you built this greenhouse? It's on sleepers, I can see.
It's a double row of sleepers, very difficult to see in here. We'll have a look at a tunnel next door, which I've just emptied.
Yeah.
And I'll show you how all of that works. But basically it's on a double row of sleepers that are joined together pretty much like that.
Yeah.
And with sleepers all the way around, you'd know how heavy a sleeper is. It's a pretty heavy thing. And in a system like this, there's about 20 sleepers, so it's really, really heavy.
Yeah.
And the structure, the frame of the tunnel is joined to those sleepers. It's wire joined all the way along. So look, it's never going to be cyclone proof, that's for sure.
Yeah.
A cyclone coming along will take this kind of thing off anyway. I have no issues with that. If it happens once every 50 years, I don't care. I'm unlikely to be here. But it's just one of those things. I mean, if it was taken off in a really heavy wind, you can very easily just put ordinary plastic on top of your structure, or you can buy another structure. You can buy the structures themselves, and they're really cheap. You know, they're really worthwhile. So if you get 5 years, 6 years, 7 years out of it, what a pleasure. The plastic that comes with them will last you about 2 years. After that, you must just put ordinary plastic on top of it, which is what you see here. This cloth that is on here is the original cloth that came with it, and I've just put plastic on top of that.
Yeah.
So you can see there's rips, there's tears in the old stuff. Doesn't matter, just put another piece on top.
How much does, like, if you don't mind me asking, if someone wanted to set up something like this,
Yep.
they had property to do it, how
Yep.
much did this, do you reckon, cost? Just one unit of 18 IBC grow outs?
Not a whole lot. I mean, I get the IBCs for around about $40 or $50 each.
Yep.
Usually they come with something in them that you need to clean out. Maybe you need 2 or 3 or 4 cleans on it. So you can use some crappy water if you've got old water or rainwater or whatever it is. You can scour them out with a detergent. Make sure that they're pretty clean. Do it 2 or 3 times. Fill it up or just half fill it. Test drive it if you need. Chuck a couple of snails in it, put a guppy in it.
Yeah.
I've never yet killed a fish after I've cleaned a pond. Not yet. So, you know, it's not often that they're that toxic that it's a problem. So let's just say it's 18 ponds by $50. That's not a whole bunch.
No.
The structure itself will cost you about $500 for a 10x4.
Yeah.
So we're talking Australian dollars here. $500 for that. And the sleepers are, I think if I remember correctly, about $20 each. So you might be looking at $400 or $500 for the sleepers.
Yeah.
After that, it's just actually assembling the thing. I put in the sleepers after I've assembled the tunnel.
Yeah.
So you know exactly what your length and your width is. And then I'll show you how I start the sleepers off and what we do afterwards just to create the structure that this thing sits on.
It's just got some gravel here.
Yeah, and I've just put some bluestone in here. This is 25mm bluestone.
Yeah.
It's really useful if you're draining a pond. You have the water coming out. I usually have a net, so I will drain the pond almost entirely.
Just put a net down here.
Yeah, but the first thing I'll do is drain the pond almost entirely, either somewhere else or outside.
Yeah.
If the water's good, I'll keep it. Otherwise, I'll put it outside onto the paddock outside, and then I've just got maybe 100 liters of water at the bottom, and then I'll take most of the fish out, sort of lean over, catch most of the fish gently out of there, put them in fresh water, and when you've harvested 95% of whatever's in there, put the net there and drain the rest through. And if you've got a bucket of nice clean water there, they're coming out of there, you don't damage fish.
Yeah, makes it
when
easy,
there's no pressure behind them, just 50 or 100 liters coming out, you don't drain the fish. So you just catch them in a net, put them in the bucket, off you go.
Wow.
And as you can see here, there's snails looking after every pond. I've got graders,
like
which
here,
I can show you at a later stage. And you know, I don't count every snail out or anything like that. I just grade them, and I grade out the size that I want, usually the largest of them. And I'll grade them into a pond that is about to be set up for new fish. So whatever is small in that pond comes into the next pond, and then I'll put fish on top of it, and off we go again.
Do you have any way of showing us what fish are in some of these?
Yep. If we come back to this one.
Yeah, look at these platinums. Is that what they are?
If we go to that one.
Yeah, platinum angels.
Go to this one. This one looks cool.
Yeah, so there we are, angels. A lot of the ponds carry angels because that's a lot of what I do.
Yeah.
So these are small angels. They've only just recently come in. You see they came in on the 20th, so they've only been here for a few days. But they're always keen for food, so the moment you do that, even with big angels, the moment you do that, they all come looking.
How many will be in here?
I put round about 300 in a pond, sometimes 400.
Okay.
So,
and how quickly from this size to sellable?
From this size is a month.
Oh wow, that's it.
So as long as you can grow them through in the hatchery in some kind of a system, back to when they have wings, you can stock them.
Yeah.
And if they're around about 6 or 7 weeks old, they come here for a month, and they will be here for 4 or 5 weeks, and then off they go. And it's always obviously as and when the orders come through and people want that particular color.
Yeah.
So it's feasible that my normal size is a 3.5, but it's feasible that if I've bred a lot of that particular color, they might grow to a 4 centimeter or 5 centimeter, just depending on how long they've been in the pond.
And here in Brizzy, you don't, here in southeast Queensland, you don't heat this at all during the year. Just in summer, you take the shade cloth off.
In summer,
no, shade cloth on.
In summer, the shade cloth goes on.
Yeah.
So I cover most of it. I do on purpose leave these strips open so there is a bit of natural light and something that you can work with. If you cover the whole thing with shade cloth, it does get a little bit dark. So you want some open spaces. So shade cloth in most of it with open spaces, so you've got light to work in. It ends up with a diffuse light, which is really nice for most of these fish.
And then in winter, it still maintains enough heat to keep tropical fish.
Yeah, because there's a couple of ways to change it all. So shade cloth is one of them to cool it down. Door open. So we're constantly doing a temperature readout here. So we do temperatures in the morning of a pond in every tunnel. So we keep a log of what the temperature is in the morning, what it is at night. We have a sequence of temperature figures that we can have access to all the time. You constantly watch the weather and what the temperatures are going to be. If you're going to be farming anything, that's just what a farmer does. They always know what's coming up ahead of time. If you know you're going to have a heat wave, obviously you'll start opening the door early. If it gets really bad, you can open the other end. And by that way, you're pretty much keeping the temperature as stable as you possibly can. And if you look at our temperature readings, generally in these ponds at the moment, they'll vary between 24 and 28. And just by opening and closing the doors, and in really, really bad situations, adding an extra bit of shade cloth, I haven't yet had to do that, but you can adjust just a bit. But yeah, it stays incredibly stable.
Yeah, it's like pretty warm, I guess. Yeah, it's like 26 or
These will probably be in the region of 25, 26 now.
What else do we have in here? There's more fish
so a lot of angels. There's angels behind you there. Guppies, neon blue guppies.
Oh, yeah,
so this is just a grow out pond. I have neon blue guppy breeders up in the hatchery. And these are their youngsters that have come through here. So yeah,
they'd be so healthy in here.
Oh, you can see they just love green water. I mean,
Yeah.
if you look at most of the Asian farms, it's always green water. They know it's almost feeding time now, so they're hanging about. They're waiting for it. And we have a guy who does the feeding for us throughout the farm and up at the top. So we're able to, you know, sort of put our time on efforts of breeding fish and looking after it. And yeah, we've got a guy called Neville who does our feeding, and he's a very nurturing kind of guy. So it's really nice for us, really great for us. Yep.
Oh yeah.
Here's a couple of the veils. I'll give them a little bit of a hello. We can maybe take that away. It could make things a bit easier. Let's see if we can get them. If we can't, I'll catch some in a net anyway.
You can see them.
I'll bring a net.
So they just stay in this water the whole time?
They stay in this water the whole time. You can see, obviously, they've been here for a little while.
Yeah.
So if I take this away, actually the feeding ring is another thing that's pretty useful. We can talk about that in a sec. Let's catch some of these and have a look at what the veils are like. Angels are pretty dumb things as well. When you get a couple in a net and just keep it up on the top there, the rest come looking. So you can do that, and you can just keep on adding more and more.
Really?
And they'll keep on coming up to the pond. Anyway, there we are. Let's have a look at these people. So these are sapphire blues.
Yep.
And some platinums. Pretty nice veils.
Yeah. They must grow so quick out here.
Oh, they love it out here, hey? It's really good. Let's get on these guys. The platinums are just slightly shorter as far as the veils are concerned than the sapphires.
Yep.
But there we are.
That's so cool.
A lovely long finnage. Very popular at the moment. Very popular.
Jeez, that's so cool. Nice. Yeah, I just love the green water and, you know, minimal water use.
Yeah.
The simplicity of this setup. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's easy, yeah.
It does make things really simple, eh?
What else is in
So
here?
that'll give you an idea. So this travels with them wherever they go. So I know what breeder group it's come from. That was when this lot were actually spawned, 1st of October. Mm-hmm. So we're looking at fish that are
2 months old.
2 months old, yeah.
Jeez, and them pretty
Not
big.
too bad.
Not bad, eh?
Not too bad. The feeding ring is just to make sure that, so we feed inside the ring there, and it's just to make sure that when any excess food,
like in the one next to you, also stops the
duckweed.
So any excess food falls down in one place, and you'll find when it comes to feeding time, a lot of the snails migrate to just below here, so you'll see them all around here waiting for food.
Yeah.
So the fish immediately come, they feed off there, and then anything that falls down, there's a whole bunch of snails down there looking after that. If you've got a lot of duckweed, the feeding rings are really useful as well. There's cobalt blue breeders in here, so they're not going to come up. But if you've got a lot of duckweed, which I have in ponds with really big fish in them, excess duckweed, and that will look after the excess food.
Yeah, I don't know if I miss duckweed.
Yeah, and just keep the conditions as nice as possible.
It just sticks to your finger, hey? Look at this, more platinum angels. It's amazing to think these all find homes.
Yeah. Come on, guys.
Look at that.
There we are.
How cool.
There's all my people.
Jeez. Sapphire angels.
Sapphire blues. We should
Down
have
the bottom.
the same thing. You coming up? There they are. A little bit more skitsy than the others.
Yeah. That's cool.
Silver dollar breeders.
Silver dollars?
Yeah, silver dollar breeders. They're down there at the bottom. They're good breeders, good size. They're about that.
Wow.
I think there's 7 of them in there. Shabunkins.
Yep.
I thought, what the hell, one of the big goldfish farms in Australia is hardly supplying anymore.
I've heard some big,
Yeah, so I got some shabunkins in a year ago just for planning that, and I'm going to spawn these in a couple of weeks' time. Get some shabunkins coming through. Used to do all of this a very long time ago at a muddy cooler. We produced literally over 1 million goldfish just to supply to Britain.
It's crazy. Should we look at the Cory tunnel?
Yes, let me show you the empty tunnel first of all we were talking about, so you can see what it looks like.
Yeah. It's cooler out here.
And that's it, I mean, there's no heating there.
No. Yeah.
So if it gets really hot, just open the doors and it'll all change.
Oh, so this is the empty... This is an empty tunnel.
Yeah. So yeah, I've had to bash the door down a little bit to get the ponds out, so it looks a little bit iffy, but that'll get fixed. So this will give you an idea on what it looks like when we first put it together. And let's just imagine this framework sitting on the ground next to this. So you take your tape measure, it's not exactly 10 by 4, so you can take your tape measure once it's all together, you can measure exactly what it is, length and breadth, and then when I put the first row of sleepers in, the sleeper is 5 centimeters wide, so I'll put the first row of sleepers in just following the ground contour, and they will be 5 centimeters inside the measured lengths of a complete structure. Okay. And then the next one, the next one I join with
He's
bolts.
breaking it.
He's breaking it down. The next ones I will bolt together, but on the second lot, that's where the level comes in. So you level everything off the second one. The first one just follows the contours of wherever you're at. See. So it can be as higgledy-piggledy as you know the ground is. Yeah. But you make sure that the second one is absolutely level, or if you want it at a slight canter so that water runs downhill,
so like that
you can do just that.
Yeah, I see
so that's the second one there. That's the first one. Yeah. That's the second one there, and you make sure that the second one will come in where your structure is pretty much in the center of it, because then you wire it down, and every upright I wire it down. So if you did have a wind picking it up, basically it would need to pick the whole bunch of sleepers up.
It'd be pretty serious.
Yeah, it would have to be a really serious wind, really serious cyclone. But a really serious cyclone would take it away, but it would probably destroy most fish farms anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
So there we go. That's what it looks like. And
very cool.
This is, because it's cooler, this will become that one, which is a polystyrene tunnel. We can have a 1 second look in there. Yeah. But that'll give you an idea also, just looking at it there. Usually I have it on blocks at the back. So this is an old structure. I didn't put it on blocks, I put it on bricks. But nowadays I put it on blocks, and the pond is a little bit more slanted than that one is.
You want it to slant so that you can get that
You
nice
want that
gravity.
slant so that you can drain it really easily, yeah.
Good way of getting all the mold and everything out of it too.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah. And then,
that's the hardest thing.
So the ponds that are out there need to be cleaned, and then they'll be put into here.
Oh, jeez, the mother load. It smells like a plastic factory.
Yeah, it smells like a polystyrene factory, doesn't it?
Oh, wow.
So this is all second-hand and brand new polystyrene. So all of these now are going to be moved to that one, which is a cooler tunnel. Yeah. And this is where the fish ponds will come. And this is really nice gravel down on the floor. You can imagine the ponds being set up here. It's going to be lovely. So all I do is bring the air lines across, put them in here, put the ponds in, and off we go again.
So simple.
It is. It's really, really simple. Now, on the normal structure, you have a kind of a zip effort here, which is just as a canvas zip door, which is useless for this kind of thing. I usually cut that away, put some uprights in, and put a door on. It just makes it so much easier for us. Yeah. Yeah.
True.
So, yeah, you pretty much arrived at the right time. Just see what a tunnel looks like when it's
so
first
these are all going to go in.
And those are all of those that will go in, yeah.
So this is going to go into...
That's all going to go into there. Yeah.
Wow. All right, let's look at this Cory tunnel. I loved this last time. It's one of my favourites. Is this more angels and stuff in this one?
Yeah, let's have a look at that first then.
Yeah.
Well, we can maybe also talk about these, because this is the next size down.
Yep.
Maybe somebody wants to start with a baby tunnel.
Yep.
Which is 6x3.
Yep.
10x4 and 6x3.
Here we go.
There we are. There's some bigger angels.
Oh, wow.
Oh, yeah.
That's so cool.
That's much nicer when they're bigger, hey, and they really relate to you.
And also, I think the duckweed's cleaned up the green water.
Definitely. When you cover it up completely and you don't have as much light coming through, it cleans it up, takes out the nutrient and gives you a really nice sort of vaguely gingerberry kind of a look to it. It's lovely.
How many angels do you think you sell per month?
Oh, at the moment probably less than half of what we usually do, because having had the 6-month drought, we've really struggled to get enough water into the place, seeing that we're buying, and also because I've changed structures and got rid of some ponds, they've been out of action for a while. So probably about half what we usually do, but I guess on any year we're probably doing somewhere between 15 and 20,000, something like that. Just of angels. Corries might be double that.
Jeez.
Yep.
How do you fill these ponds too? Just what, tap?
No. If our water's delivered, it's dropped off in a container just on the back there. So we got a 7,000 litre container.
Yeah, and then
we've got a 25,000 litre container that comes off that great big shed that we've just driven past. So there is a system where I can draw from there and fill up the 7,000 litre,
like a hose.
and then I'll just drop a submersible in there and join hoses wherever I need it to go. So it all just gets pumped through via submersible.
It's like manual, but it's not like
it's
auto,
manual, yeah. Yep.
So these are empty?
These are empty. They've just been filled up yesterday.
Yep.
Yep.
Ready to go.
Ready to go, and some of those fish that you saw up top there will be in here just after the weekend.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I usually leave it for a couple of days just to settle it all down, but yeah, then they'll come in. And the difference between now and a couple of months' time when I get the Daphnia going is that I'll start all of the ponds with the Daphnia culture.
Yep.
And probably leave them for 4 or 5 days just for the Daphnia to start breeding, and you'll have different sizes of Daphnia from really tiny to quite large, and then put the angels in. So they've just immediately got food available wherever they look.
Yeah, it's a good idea for sure.
So yeah, there'll be a starter culture of live food in as they arrive.
Oh, you can see more angels there.
Yeah.
It's feeding time for sure.
Oh yeah, it's coming close. Platinums and gold marbles.
Wow.
Electric yellow.
Do you reckon they'll come up?
Breeders, they will probably come and say hello. There's a couple of them coming through, if you can see them.
Yeah, you can see them, yeah.
Yeah. So they come in here, and every 2 weeks to 3 weeks, just depending on when I've got time, I'll harvest them and check them for mouthfuls. And if they've got anything, they'll go up to the hatchery and go back into their pond again. A few more. Yay!
Jeez. I've never seen this many angels.
Yeah.
Well,
20,000 today.
Well, there's probably 3 times this on the other farm.
That's insane. Look at that. They're so cute too.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, they've only come in here for a couple of weeks.
Wow.
But they certainly know when it's feeding time.
Yeah, definitely.
These are endler ponds. I've taken out breeders that are up in the hatchery, and I just have to finish them off and start again. But yeah, that's kind of it. Except we'll show you a different size tunnel.
Yeah.
So
It feels so refreshing when you come out of those.
Oh, it's so nice.
I love it in there. Eh?
Be nice in winter.
It's brilliant. Even going into the hatchery in winter, it's magnificent. Eh? So what we've seen up until now are the 10x4.
Yeah.
These are 6x3 tunnels.
Okay.
They're a little bit painful size-wise in fitting ponds. And really the only way you can do it properly is to put 5 on one side and 4 on another.
Oh, that's annoying.
And just reverse them. So these ones are done sideways, those ones are done long on, if you did both of them long on, you'd have to be as skinny as you are, and I'm not like that, so it ain't going to work for me.
And I'd be standing outside.
And you'd be outside.
I'd be in the dog house.
So this is totally covered in shade cloth, and I kind of look on this as the rainbow pond, so the rainbow tunnel. So there's lots of Busmani in here. Generally they don't come up.
No, they don't.
We might spot a couple, but they stay in the middle level more.
They seem to be a little bit smarter than the angels.
Yeah, they're definitely smarter, that's for sure. So there's Busmani in all of these ponds.
They definitely are. At your house even too, Jason, the ones we set
they
up.
never come up. The angels come up straight away. But
Actually, if I dropped a bit of food in, we'd see some. But anyway, you know there's Busmani in there.
you get the shoot up to the tops and the splashes. That's all you really see.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, very popular nowadays. So yeah, we're breeding more and more rainbows than we used to.
Do you want to look at the Cories?
Let's have a look at the
I
Cories.
really
You can't wait, can you?
Yeah, I love it. I love the idea.
You've probably picked about the worst week ever as far as eggs are concerned, because we've been through a heat wave in the last few days, and that stopped them entirely. And the other thing is, some stupid bloody horse race in Victoria meant that we couldn't get our blackworm.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
so we couldn't give them blackworm, and we've had a heat wave. Yeah. But anyway.
So this is very cool.
Well, it's very cool as far as breeding Cories is concerned. It's slightly warmer than maybe you expected. The difference between this tunnel and the others, you've got very small containers with the rubbish bins.
Yeah.
You've only got less than 100 litres in there. I've got individual types of Cories in there. So if you look at that, you've got Northern Longnose, Stir-Bay, albino, and on this side we got things like Julia, Robortia, Dolphois, Similis. So there's, I don't know, 14 or 15 different varieties of Cories throughout this place, and on a daily basis we're watching the temperatures, in particular for these guys. So I'm trying to keep the temperature in the region of 24, 25, 26 degrees. It's okay if it goes slightly either way of that, but you don't want it to go much more. So if your temperature the previous day had got up to say 26, and you know that the next day you're going to have a heat wave, the shade cloth goes on the night before, the door is open, you've got vents up at the top of the tunnel there that give you a bit of a through flow as well. And if absolutely necessary, you'd come down here and you'd give a water change if it's getting really hot. The shade cloth will usually sort it out enough. But if it's starting to get into the 30s, then I come down and I'll do a water change with fresh water from a big reservoir over there. But that doesn't happen too often. No system.
These are all separate?
They're all separate, yeah.
What are these?
I have to ask, what's that for? Because you've got the cups on the bottom, obviously, to keep ants and that out.
So this is the food for the whole farm. And it's in my toolbox. An X toolbox. So here we are. We've got a bunch of different dry foods, micronized dry foods. So they get their blackworm in the morning, and then different types of dry foods in the afternoon.
What are these flakes?
This is flake that has dicalcium phosphate mixed in with it, and a lot of it. And that's what goes onto virtually every pond because it feeds the snails. And it gives us really nice snail shells. You don't put that in, your snails look awful.
They get the white.
They get white, pock-marked, and just horrible, and you can't sell them. So a lot of DCP mixed in with just a standard flake food.
What are these for, Trevor? The green nozzles.
Once a week I will water change these. So I've got just a standard kind of a drain system up there, just a U-shaped drain.
That thing?
Yeah, that thing.
Yeah.
So it will drain, I'll get the siphon going, it'll drain down to about here.
Yeah.
And that's the time that I'll bring a torch, even in daylight, I'll bring a torch down with me, and I'll check that every fish is what it should be, and it's looking good, and it's happy. And then I've got a system of bringing new water into here. So Outside, you've got a pipe that runs all the way through here, all the way along the bottom, right the way around. And I'll just connect that up, and I've got fresh water coming in wherever I want. All I need to do is put the tap on.
Ah, okay.
So that is the way of filling them up, but I drain them first of all so that I can see that the breeders are looking good, and that maybe a fish jumped out and it got thrown back by the guy who feeds, who doesn't know the different fish that well. So I'm always making sure that the fish that are in there are what they're supposed to be, and there's no cross breeding at all.
And then what are these like? How does
So these are the tubes that they will spawn on.
Yeah.
And what happens is I'll take a tube out. So when it comes to checking them each week, somewhere here is my cleaning apparatus. Here it is. So the tubes, we check them every afternoon to see if there's eggs. If there's nothing, then they'll get washed clean.
Yeah.
Do that kind of thing. I don't wash the insides. I don't clean the insides. So it's a really nice surface for them to spawn on. Corries love nice clean surfaces. Every day these pipes are checked for eggs.
Yeah.
Because the temperatures over the last few days have been heat wave, and it's been a struggle to keep them where they should be. Most of them probably won't have much on at the moment.
Yeah.
And we were lacking blackworm, so a couple of things counting against us. But yeah, the pipes get cleaned every day. They get inspected every day. They get cleaned. And because the only place that corries want to spawn on is really clean surface, the inside of the pipe is dirty. Dirty, it's full of algae. The pond itself is chockers with algae, and I purposely keep really thick algae on the inside of the bucket.
Yeah.
So they won't spawn there. They won't spawn on the inside. So picking this up and checking the outside, you'll know whether you've got eggs or not very simply.
Very clever, eh?
Yeah, it is. Yeah. I like too. You put the airline inside, so it kind of creates that flow.
It creates quite a flow, and the airline is just a little bit lower than the pipe is, so it comes down the inside, but a lot of it comes up around the outside of it. So sometimes I'll put it on the outside, just depending on what I've seen as far as spawns are concerned. If I find that putting it on the outside of a pipe for that particular fish works, then I'll put it on the outside. If it works on the inside, I'll put it on the inside. So, yep. That's kind of where it's at with these guys, and each day, each afternoon, you come along and you'll give it a clean, put it back, and give them just one nice surface to spawn on.
And just so we know, like so these are albino.
That's albino, that's longfin albino.
Sturbayers.
Sturbays, a couple of sturbays. Northern longnose there.
Yep.
That's an empty one. Sturbay there, they're very popular, so I've got a few of them. Elise.
Yep.
Julia, it's the false Julia because we have hardly any proper Julia in Australia. Raborti.
Yep.
Adolphoi.
Do these breed well?
They do. They breed really well, but they are not very good as far as fecundity is concerned. You get a lot of very poor eggs.
Okay.
It's a pity I can't show you lots of spawn, but usually there is lots of spawn. We're just in the wrong place at the moment. Similis.
Yep.
And to me, that's one of the nicest corries. I love Similis, but they don't sell that well. It's unfortunate. Yeah.
Pandas.
Sturbay. Matei.
Oh, Metes.
Matei is a nice one.
Do they breed well in here too?
They poor breeders, they slow. But you know, I'll consistently get a few coming out, but they're not amazing. Pandas breed very well.
Yep.
Julia and Sturbay breed very well. The albinos and the bronzies always do.
Well, I reckon that kind of wraps it all up, doesn't it?
Yeah, you've probably seen a fair amount, I guess.
Yeah, well, thank you.
Hope it's been useful.
Yeah, very.
Yeah, cool.
I really appreciate it.
Really
I'm
nice
sure
setup.
everyone will enjoy it on YouTube as well. So
I hope so. Yeah.
We'll come back and we'll film some more stuff.
Okay, we could always go to the other facility and have a look at something different as well. Yeah.
Awesome. Thanks, guys.
Good one. Cheerio.
See you later.